Welcome to my guide on Revengers of Vengeance for the Sega CD. And before we go into the no death run, I wanted to talk about the gameplay a bit, so yeah, let's get straight into it. So, you're able to move left and right. All characters can backdash and they're invincible during the animation, so that's pretty cool. Obviously you can jump, you can crouch. There's 3 buttons for attacking, which is weak, medium, and strong. You can perform special moves by doing a motion, so in the case of Barco, I can do a quarter circle forward with an attack to get this kick, or I can hold it back for a brief moment, then press forward in the button to get that. And there are some combos, it's like 2 or 3 hits at best, so I can do a 2-hit combo right here, so 1, 2. And there's all low attacks knocked down. What else? Oh boy, this is embarrassing. You can block high attacks, but not really. Like, you still get hit, but you take no damage. Same thing goes for low attacks. There really isn't a lot to this game's fighting. I pretty much said, yeah, you know what? Screw this. Let's just go to the no death run.
An evil power is about to disrupt the calm of this pulsating, vigorous city. The Devil King has gained the infinite power of evil and is playing a deadly game of destruction. But not everyone will tolerate Venom's cruelty and oppression. Somehow his evil force must be stopped by any means. He must be defeated.
Alright, so this is the no death run, and the first thing you see me do is go to the options. I'm gonna make sure it's on the hardest setting, which it is. It's called difficult. And if you're playing this yourself, make sure you put the shadow setting to off, because if you leave it on, you see the shadows of the characters during battle, but it makes the game lag. Like, it'll be harder to do moves, the game will feel much slower. So I highly recommend you set this off if you're gonna play this. Anyways, I'm gonna go straight to the 1-player mode. Here's the cast. It's 10 characters. So first off, you have Magnus, and then Barco, Sarah, Logan, Organa, Cybart, Algos, Fuchida, Talon, and Daktar. And for this run, I'm going to be using Barco. And when I do the quest, I am going to pick someone else. Now, as for this arcade mode, well, it's called a 1-player mode, but pretty much. You face characters in a set order, so no matter who you pick, you'll always face the same order of characters. And after you beat all 10 characters, you face 2 more boss characters. Now, what can I say about the CPU? The CPU's weird in this game. If they're not spamming one move non-stop, they're acting really, like, I guess you could say stupid. Because even on the hardest setting, this game isn't really that hard. Like, when I was playing this off screen, like, I was just practicing for a bit. I took a week off this game, and when I tried to do a no death run, I did mess up the first attempt, but after that, the second attempt and the third attempt after, I just went through the entire game without dying. And some of these matches, I went through it without losing a round. Now, as for Organa, using the as a CPU, she likes to draw out projectiles a lot, but this is fine because her projectiles is, as you can see, it leaves her open for quite a while. So you kind of want this to happen. It's like, it's not a big deal. And, yeah, oh yeah, critical hits. Okay, so I don't think I even mentioned critical hits because they're very rare in this game. But there's a random chance for the next attack to be like a crit, and it would deal a lot of damage. Like, not just like usually critical hits in a video game deal like ×2. That's the general rule I want to believe. But in this game, it feels like ×3 or maybe even more. So, yeah, I don't know how to commentate over this game because there really isn't that much to it. Like, the CPU is pretty easy. They do have some habits, like, you know, you see Logan using that move a lot. It's called Fire Sticks. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this. I mean, like just look at it. And it's weird because I do love this game. Like, I like it, even though it's kind of bare bones. But there really isn't that much to it. Like, I don't know what to say here. I mean, I guess I could try talking about the game while this run's going through. So, obviously, Revengeance of Vengeance, it came out on the Sega CD. Also came out on the Mega CD, obviously. It was called Battle Fantasy in Japan. So, wow, I really don't know what to say here. Anyways, this game has some unique modes. Obviously, right, you're seeing right here is the arcade mode. The main meat of this game is the story mode, and we'll get into that when we like after this run is over, because there's some funny ways to get through quest mode. Like, I feel like the game will still play it in one way, but if you do it the other way, it's a bit more efficient, maybe. But we'll get into that when we get there. So that's quest mode, and there's a third mode called Arena of Death. You might have seen it on the menu screen briefly. I'm not gonna go over that. It's pretty much a CPU versus CPU where you can select a character, you can change their habits, like how often they do special moves, or what else? Like their offense and their defense, and then after you create the character, you can have the CPU use that character and they'll face each other. But yeah, really the main meat of this game is the story mode, because in this mode, obviously the CPU is, for me, it's very easy. Like, I've played a lot of fighting games on like the Genesis, and some of those games have way harder CPUs than this, so this was like not a problem for me at all. If it's a problem for you, like if you have a difficult time facing the CPU in this game on the highest difficulty setting, all it really takes is like just pick a character for projectile, because these CPUs, when you draw a projectile, they'll like try either get hit by it or block it, or they'll jump over it. But usually in fighting games, like when you're facing, let's say you're facing a human, right, and you draw a projectile, usually that human's response would be, okay, either deal with it or jump over it and go for like a jump attack, which is, you know, it's standard. It's not something everyone does, obviously, but it's a standard thing. Like, it is something you can do. Now, as for the CPU, if you draw a projectile and they jump over it, they won't do anything on the way down. Like, they just jump and hope for the best. So, yeah, if you have a projectile, draw it out. If they jump over it, you can either hit them out of the air for your ground attack, or even throw them when they land. So, even though, again, like the CPU is easy, and I'm not even using a character for projectile. So you can only imagine how much easier it would be if you was using a character with like a beam or whatever. And yeah, that's it for this. Honestly, I just described the CPU. Like, most of their habits involve like spamming the same move over and over. You might have seen Sarah just constantly doing the knee attack like back to back, which is kind of ridiculous. And yeah, it's a CPU, if I haven't said that already. Jeez. As for playing this game like against another person, it can be fun. Like, my problem with this game, oh man, my problem with this game is that it's not that this game is bad. I don't think this is a bad game. Like, I feel like if I got this as a kid and like, this was like the only game I had, maybe. Like, I'd probably play the quest mode a lot and play through with all the characters. I wouldn't play through this mode a lot because, unfortunately, this mode does not have endings. Which is kind of lame, but I digress. The endings are in story mode, and that's where they want you to put most of your time in. So yeah, if I had this as a kid, I'd probably be burning this out, like the story mode, because I really can't wait to get into the story mode, because it has a lot of interesting quirks in it. Anyways, right now it's showing Magnus. I have to start talking about the game here real quick because this round is very interesting. I already mentioned crits, like critical hits can happen at any time. The only issue with crits is that not only are they random, obviously, but for moves like that, look at the damage. Like, I lost like 75% of my health. So when it comes to grabs, you don't like... yeah, obviously I lost that round. But when it comes to grabs, you don't see the words critical hit appear. So it's like it's like a jump scare when you see your health just get depleted from seeing one grab happening. It's like the absolute worst. I think the critical hit words don't appear if like it's an attack that doesn't show like a hit spark, like like you see when I hit the opponent, you see that brief slowdown, the hit animation. If that doesn't happen, I think that's when it doesn't show that a critical hit happens. So it's very deceptive. But I still pulled through. I was able to defeat Magnus. I did lose a round, however. Now, as I was saying about this game, playing it against another person, it's alright. I did do a first to 5 against someone, and I had a decent time playing it. But again, my only problem with this game is that it's just the fighting itself is really bare bones. Like, there just isn't a lot to do. I mean, at best, I'm trying to think of the highest amount of hits I did in one combo. Like, I used Darktar, the mage lady. You probably see her in a few matches. And I was facing the big rhino dude, Cybart. And I did a jump kick, which hit twice. Then I landed and did a standing medium attack into a projectile, and that was 4 hits. And outside of the ninja, who has a move that can hit like multiple times in one, and it's like a combo, I couldn't find any better combos than that. Like, this game is just really, really limited. Like, again, it's not a bad game. Like, you can play it. It's just there's not a lot here, and for me, that's a big deal. Like, I played a lot of Genesis games that had like a lot in it. Like, heck, for example, I mean, I don't know if this game came out in 1993 or before or after, but for example, Fighting Masters for Sega Genesis, I did a run on that, and you can check it out if you want. But Fighting Masters is a 2-button game. It uses jump and attack, so you think, okay, there's not a lot to it. But surprisingly, when you play Fighting Masters and you try to learn the game, for a 2-button fighter, it has plenty of depth into it. Like, it's really fun. There's some like counterplay involved. Like, the characters, despite barely having moves, it can be unique. And like, it can be really interesting when you like try to take it seriously. Like, it's a fun game nonetheless. Like, especially against a human, I should say. Like, against a CPU, obviously, it's a bit messy because fighting game CPUs are something. I'll leave it at that. I do have strong opinions about it, but I won't get into that. Anyone who read my guides would know how I feel about fighting game CPUs. But yeah, a game like Fighting Masters, even that game, 2 buttons, and yet that has more depth than this game. Like, it's so weird. And I think that's how I feel about see, this is the weird part. With Fighting Masters, I hate playing it alone because the CPU is like it's not fun against the CPU, but it's like an absolute blast when playing against a friend. Especially like when both players, like me and them, learn the controls and whatnot and like how to play. This game, I can't. With Fighting Masters, I said Fighting Masters so many times, but with that game, I can ask someone if they wouldn't. Wow, I can't have it in English. I can ask someone if they want to play it, and they'll probably say yes. Like, hey, why not? Let's do a few matches. And same goes for like games like King of the Monsters 2 or whatnot on Genesis. With this game, I can't imagine myself just going out of my way and asking someone, "Hey, you want to play some rounds of this?" Like, because there just isn't a lot to this game. It can be fun for a bit. Don't get me wrong. Like the solo experience in this game, due to the story mode, I much prefer over something like Fighting Masters. But like the fighting itself, I can't get over it. I know I sound like a broken record, but there just isn't much here, and I think that's what makes me angry, because like this game has potential. Like, ah, like how many times did I say like? Like, I want to love this game so much, but it's just, it's so bare bones, man. But there's something here. Like, I've been very negative about it. Let's talk about the positives at least. Like, I already mentioned the quest mode, how it has some interesting stuff. The roster is pretty unique. This really does look like a D&D session, like a Dungeons and Dragons session where, like, you know, people got together and just made up like a bunch of fantasy characters. Like, I really like the roster here. You know, you got the dwarf, you got the wolf, the elf lady with the sword, you got the knight. Like, come on, you can't tell me this isn't like a Dungeons and Dragons roster over here. Like, it's pretty interesting. The music is alright. My only gripe with the music is that it's pretty on the, like, it's on the short side. Like, you know, it'd be like 1 minute at best, which would be fine. Like, you know, there's plenty of games where it's just 1 minute loops. But because this is a Sega CD game, obviously the song ends, then you hear silence for a brief moment, and then the song like plays again, and you know, it's a bit jarring, but that's how that's how plenty of Sega CD games were, so it's not a big deal. I could be wrong. I haven't played a lot of Sega CD games, but from my experience, like playing this game, Black Hole Assault, Heavy Nova. I just realized the 3 games I just mentioned was made by the same company. That's not good. So maybe it's just dumb. Anyways, yeah, what else can I talk about? So, one of the most well-known things about this game is that it was most of the programming and the fighting. It was made by one person called Azzy, A-Z-Y. I really, really wanna believe that this isn't one person, it's just the name of a company. But at the same time, there's plenty of times in this game where like they mention Azzy as if it is one person. And when you consider how bare bones this game is, like how there isn't too much to the fighting, and how there's some major issues here of like moves having a ton of startup time, or moves leaving you open for like a year and a half. I can believe that was made by one person. Let's put it that way. And yeah, despite all this game's faults, I still like it in a sense. I don't know why. I guess it's because, again, it's the positives really. Like, I like the roster. I like what they try to do with like the story mode. Because the story mode does have cutscenes, and like there's something else because it's in English and the voice acting is you know what? I won't even talk about the voice acting. I don't know if you will see it in this video because I wanna, like, all of the endings are already on YouTube as it is. Like, you can just look it up and like you'll find all of the endings here. I could not find the endings to the Japanese version of this game, the you know, Battle Fantasy, and those are interesting because even though the cutscenes are the same, it's in you know, obviously it's in Japanese, like it's Japanese voice actors, which I feel like was the, you know, origin, because you listen to the English voice acting and it's kind of, it ranges from bad to cheesy. It's you know, it's that kind of thing, which is fine. Like, I don't mind it. But yeah, like at the end of this video, probably after I beat the story mode, I am going to show all of the Japanese intros and endings, because again, I couldn't find them myself, so I'd mine as well. And yeah, other than that, really the biggest issue of this game stuff is the fighting. If the fighting had more to it, this game would be way more interesting. Dare I say it'd be a hidden gem on the Sega CD if the fighting was actually like pretty good. Like it's already bad enough that turning the shadows on makes the game lag. Okay, so for now I'm gonna shut up. Let's talk about the bosses. Uh, this guy Jado. I'm glad I get to talk about him because he's very interesting. He can't jump. He cannot throw you. Your grabs deal no damage. And he can absorb projectiles by holding back. So this is the one boss where even if you have a character for projectile, you don't want to stay full screen away from him. It won't do much. Chances are that even if you out projectile him, he would just absorb it by blocking. So this is where, in the case of Barco, just going on the boss nonstop, show no mercy. Like, don't let off the pressure. You can see that I'm constantly trying to walk forward, and the minute I get in, I start barraging him with the roundhouse kick, which is a quarter circle forward with any button. So yeah, that was that boss, and coming up is the final boss, who I want to say he's easier. It might depend on the character, but then again, like, if you have a projectile, the final bosses might be easier. But because I don't, he could technically be considered harder. And yeah, you see that battle happen here. So this is Venom, obviously the main antagonist of the game. He does have some damage, like his moves deal a decent amount. And it's even like this when you, because it's cheat codes to pick the two final bosses. I might as well mention those now. So when you're in the character select, you gotta hold the mode button, which I think is only on the 6-button controller, and you press A to select Jado. And if you want to select Venom, you want to hold the mode button and press B. And during this, like after let's say you're in like a 2-player match or whatever. If you're in a 2-player match and you select the boss character and the other player hasn't picked their character yet, you can actually press A, B, C, or start, and you get like different color palettes. You won't see it until the match starts. But like for example, you did the Chico for Venom, and then while the other player is picking, you press something like C, and once the match loads up, you see that you have like a different color palette. And the bosses, all characters have 8 palettes. Like player 1 will have 4, and player 2 will have 4 different ones. Like they can't pick each other's, which is pretty weird. But as for the bosses, they only have 4, and like it's shared between both players. And another thing to mention is that you can only pick the bosses in this mode and the 2-player mode. If you try to pick them in the story mode, the game just hangs. Like it'll tell you to input your name, but the game would just freeze because they don't have any story cutscenes. So that's interesting. And yeah, other than that, that's it. I don't really have much else to say about this game. I am going to talk about the story mode, like how it works and like what's the most optimal way of beating it. But as for this mode, I pretty much said everything I wanted to say. You only drawing your life away, idiot. Anyways, so after you beat the arcade mode, you can input your name. I think if you wait on the tournament screen when you go to that mode, it'll show the high scores. So I was gonna put Zach and then put end. Now, before we go to it's gonna play the credits, but we're not gonna watch that here. We're gonna wait until after we beat story mode, so hopefully stick around for that. Alright, it's time for the story mode, or I should say, the quest to destroy Venom. Now, this mode is very interesting, as I said a lot of times. And for here, I'm going to pick Cybart, the Rhino dude. And before you, after you pick your character, you're able to input your name, so obviously I'm gonna put Zaxa here. And yeah, here's the intro cutscene for Cybart.
You're too weak. I want to fight someone stronger. I don't care who it is.
He doesn't care who it is. Anyways. So yeah, Cyborg just wants to find a strong opponent. And it looks like Venom will be one of those strong opponents, hopefully, in his case. So there's a lot to take in here, but first things first, you want to go to the fortune teller. I'm waiting for you. You have the aura of one chosen by the gods. This is what I have to say. Yes. At this very moment, Venom, the Lord of Darkness, is plotting his return from the underworld, and you alone can stop him. You must save the world, please, I beg you. Luckily, there is still time before Venom returns. But you must use this time to acquire the powers you need to defeat him. I know you can do it, but you must be ready. May the gods be with you. So, in this game, I didn't go straight back to the fortune teller, but when you go back to her again, she'll tell you that you have 200 days left. Now, before I go into the game itself, I need to talk about the stats here. So you have health, which is mostly used for the gym in which you can train, and training takes away your health. It's not for the fights at all. Offensive power, that's how much power you have offensively, like all of your attacks, your special attacks, your grabs. Defensive power, that's how much defense you have. Jumping, that's how high you can jump. Foot speed, that's how fast you can move. Intelligence, that affects usable items, like items that increase your health over time or turns both characters invisible. It increases the duration of those items for the most part. Luck is your critical hit rate. Charisma, the higher your charisma, the cheaper shop items are. And there's even a chance that when you go into the inn, it'll be free. And stamina, the higher your stamina is, the more you'll be able to train. Because when you train in this game, your stress goes up. And if your stress ever goes higher than your stamina, then your character will start refusing to train. And to reduce your stress, you have to drink coffee or soda, like in the pub. Or you can rest at the end, which will restore it a little bit. Or you can go to the gym and use the meditation training regime, in which it will reduce your stress and increase your stamina. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the stats in this game. The most important ones we're going to be focusing on is offense and defense. So you're gonna see me immediately leave the city, and now you see the overworld. So this is pretty much a stage select. You can select one of 10 opponents, the main roster. That last stage is locked, and we need a book to unlock it. But first off, we need to grind a bit. So right here is the best grinding spot. You're faced against Doctar. And the reason this is the best grinding spot is because of two reasons. One, when you win, you get 1600 gold, which is a lot. The max amount of gold you can get from like a regular fight, not counting the bosses, is 2000. And that's from facing two of the hardest opponents in this game. Now you might be confused. You're like, but hey Zach, I thought you said the AI was easy in like the arcade mode. That's also true here, they are easy. But the CPU in this game have their own stats. For Doctar, her stats is average, like it's not that much, it's like this slightly higher than yours, but you can still do plenty of damage and you won't take too much damage from her attacks. But in the case of like, if you decide to face someone like Cybart in this mode, he has a ton of defense, ton of attack. One move alone will probably do more than half your HP, and if you try to hit him with an attack, it'll probably do like 1 or 2% of his health. So yeah, if you want to handle those stronger CPUs, you're gonna have to grind a lot. And thankfully, facing Doctar is the best way to grind. Now, you get experience based on how much life and time you had left over in each round. And you could get more experience if you lose a round on purpose and see the time. Otherwise, it's not really necessary, just like... Because, like, when you lose a round, that time bonus still adds up. But we don't have to do that. Just winning 2 rounds in a row is enough. So this is just me going to the other places. You can see the shop, the weapon shop, the pub. That's the item shop right there. That's the guild, which you will see in a bit. And that's the gym. But the gym is interesting. Like, you can use 7 days to train. But as the game says, you have 200 days, so you can't afford to mess around. Wow, I'm going through this really quickly. Anyways, so this is the guild. Every time you walk into here, you will see 1 of 3 people. 2 of these people will give you 2 quests that you can accept, and the other dude, which is like some tiger dude, he will give you a quest for free. Yeah, like it's just free. Like you just do it, and you know, if you succeed, you get money. If you don't, you get nothing. So for this guy, I'm doing the Manor of Traps. It costs 2,000 gold, but if you're successful, you get 4,100 gold back. And look, it's a shmup section. So this pretty much freaked me out when I first saw this. Like I was both surprised and hyped that this happened. Cause I'm like, yo, really? Like this game has like a shooting section? Like, it's really cool. Like you can see why I kind of like this game. Like, it has cool stuff in it. Like I can't think of, from the back of my head, it's not every day that like you play a fighting game and like all of a sudden you're like shooting enemies and like traps and everything. Now let me calm down. Let me actually get into this mode itself. So, when you do the guild, there's 5 missions in total, counting like the 3 people. So, and I took a hit there. Wow. In this mode, you have 3 hit points. You can shoot fast shots, like rapid shots, or you can charge it up, as you see by the meter in the bottom right. So, you hold one button for shooting fast, or you can hold the other button for charging up. Charge shot is really good. It covers a big range. It deals multiple hits. And you see me constantly shooting the air just in case like a trap pops up, like earlier with the spear. And yeah, the goal is to shoot enemies or traps, and when you kill enemies in this, you actually do get XP. You don't see it, but every enemy I kill here actually gives me XP. And there is a boss at the end of each of these. I think they also give a good amount of XP. They probably give the most. And as for the controls, I already mentioned 2 shot types. You can either shoot fast or charge it up. Charge shots do go through walls, which is really useful. Like, you might have just seen it there. And, you know, you get 3 hits. Oh yeah, this part's interesting. You see these 4 balls, just hug the wall, you'll be fine. It looks like I should have gotten hit there, but just stay next to the staircase and you're good. Coming up is the boss, and in this mode, if you lose, nothing happens. You just lose a day of the time you need to defeat Venom. And if you win, you lose a day, but obviously you get some gold back. Like for this quest, I'm going to get 4,100 gold, and I will get XP from defeating these enemies. You even if you lose, you still get the XP you got from like killing the enemies on your way. But obviously you want to win, and this is the easiest quest to do. The reason why I picked this quest specifically is because when you go into this mode, the difficulty is random. It's completely random. Like there'll be one time you do the stage and like it's not too bad. And then there's another time you do the stage and like multiple enemies are spawning, shooting like 5 projectiles at once. Like it becomes a complete mess of a game. So that's pretty much the guild mode. And the reason why and this is the magic shop. So I need to talk about this like as I grind. I'm going to skip a chunk of the grinding. I'm going to speed it up. But obviously I'm doing a lot here. The fortune teller, there's 2 options you have, tell fortune and grant powers. If you grant powers, you'll be able to, the only way to level up is to talk to her. You can see that I have 1,000 experience. I have enough to level up. And you don't level up on your own, you have to talk to her to level up. I ain't gonna do that yet though. So what you get to see me do here is that you see that I'm buying this fighter's guide. This item is the bread and butter of getting through this mode with no issues. And the reason is because, as I mentioned earlier, you need to get stronger to defeat Venom. Like, the TPUs in this mode have a lot of, like, they have a lot of splash, especially the bosses. Like, they have a ton of offense and defense. It's gonna take some power to get stronger. So what I'm gonna do here is I bought 6 of the fighter's guides. I'm gonna go back to her and I'm going to use my gold to level up. And you can't tell how much you need to level up. If you don't have enough, she'll tell you how much more you need, but she'll still take your gold, which is really stupid. But it's fine. Anyways, I got 40 gold left, so I can't do anything here. I'll talk about the tell fortune option in a bit. So, as you can see in my stats, my oh, a different icon too, cool. My stats went up a bit. Like, leveling up doesn't give you a ton of stats, it's mostly for max HP, which is mostly used for training at the gym. But as you can see, these items, this game does not have items to equip. So if you ever see a sword, no, it's not to equip it, it's to pretty much eat it, in which you use the sword permanently and it just adds a permanent bonus to your stats. So I used 6 of those fighters guides, and now you can see that my offense and defense is way better. And for the rest of this run, I'm going to be grinding really, really hard against Doctor. Like, I'm gonna probably win, like, I think you need to beat her about, like, 14, 15 times if you want the most optimal stats, like max out offense and a good amount of defense. And yeah, I'm going to fast forward this part because it's a lot of grinding. I don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. So yeah, I'm going to skip this. I did a lot of grinding so far, and the reason why I skipped specifically to here is because this shop right here, you can't access the final boss right away until you get this book, Dispel Magic. This book will randomly pop up in this shop. The shop only refreshes when you waste a day, so that could be by using the guild, fighting, or going to the inn. But now that I have the book, I can unlock the final boss stage. So you want to go to your items, use the book. This will deactivate the force field around the final stage. And after you do that, for example, you go to tell Fortune and she'll tell you, I do not know this place, but I see an island. There you will meet a new enemy. So what that means is we have the final stage unlocked. And we're going to have to go back to her after this. But first things first, let's look at our stats. And yes, I did indeed do a lot of grinding. I got max offense, a lot of defense. I don't really care about the ground speed or the jumping height because the character I'm using, you know, he charges forward. Like, it's really not an issue. So yes, the final stage is unlocked. Our stats is pretty high. So this should be no problem. I didn't think you get this far, but as a reward, I'll let you experience the death. That's a weird line. So I kind of screw up a bit here in that, oh, look at that damage, by the way. So with sidebar, you can see that I'm struggling with I'm trying to do the Raging Bull, the charge move. But really, you don't have to do that because, like, you can see I'm trying to get closer. I'm still getting hit because I should be jumping over these projectiles, but it's fine. Because it was right here that I said screw it, maybe do his other move. And to do this move, you have to do quarter circle forward and up forward with punch. And then he does like an uppercut. It's way faster than his charge. It's a pretty good move. It's especially good against Jado. So you're gonna see me using that a lot here. In fact, watch this round right here. Oh, I got hit, never mind. Hold up. 1, 2, done. 2 hits was all it took. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, you can see that with maxed out stats, you could melt these bosses like really fast. And yeah, I didn't have to grind this hard. I kind of just played the game normally, and because that book, even though it randomly, oh wow, fun item. Even though it randomly appears in that shop, the other way to get it is to you have to defeat every character in this game, like all 10 opponents. And then when you go to the fortune teller, actually, I gotta hold that thought. So after you defeat Jado, you have to talk to her and go to tell Fortune. If you don't do this and you go back to that castle, you end up facing Jado again. But you can see, you know, your powers already exceeded those of Venom. If you act now, you can destroy him. So that means now Venom is unlocked. You can now fight him at that castle. So I'm just gonna check the shop to see if I can buff any of my other stats like defense and whatnot. Anyways, let me get back on topic. So the magic book that deactivates the force field around the last stage. The best way to get it is to obviously go to the magic shop. It might even be there when you like first start the game. It's completely random, like it's chance. The other way is to defeat all the opponents and then go to the fortune teller. When you pick the tell fortune option, she will give you a vague hint on which character would drop an item. And you can see the full guide below. You can see like all of the hints below. Like the guide alone will tell you everything you need to know about this game, even including the gem, which I didn't really get to talk about here because you honestly don't need it. So when you go to tell fortune, she'll tell you who would drop the next item, like a vague hint, and when you go to that opponent and defeat them, they'll most likely drop the book. Obviously, you don't need to do that. We can just go into the magic shop and just hope that it pops up, in which it did. And now we at the final boss. Who is that bottom of my internal reformation? I'll squash it like a bug. You know, stuff like that. So, yeah, facing Venom again. And I'm talking really fast here. But yeah, we're facing Venom again, if you haven't already seen it in the regular. And that's actually a really cool move. You've seen most of it miss because this game is far from perfect. But Cyber has a move that I don't want to, you know, I'm not one for... I don't care if I'm the first one to figure out something or anything, that's whatever. I usually prefer if like the information is already ready on the internet, but I might be one of the first to figure out that Cyborg has a move that's done by pressing forward, half circle forward with any button, and he'll pretty much charge at you and do this like combo attack. And it's not in any of the manuals. I have both Battle Fantasy and Revengeance of Vengeance physically, and both manuals do not list those moves. So I might be the first one to actually figure it out. Anyways, that was Revengeance of Vengeance. Right now you're gonna see the ending, but yeah, for now I'm gonna stay shut. Here's the ending. After the credits, I will play all of the endings. Anyways, here it is.
Isn't there anyone stronger?
And yeah, that was Revengeance of Vengeance. You're gonna notice in the credits that most of this game was made by Azzy, like game concept programmers, combat action, and all that. I already said how I felt about this game and the one-player mode. The fighting is very bare bones, and that's a big deal for me since like that's like the main part of a fighting game is good fighting. But on the bright side, at least it's very simple. You can pick up this game and play it. Like, it's not too hard to understand. And as for if it's worth the money, I honestly don't know. This game is just like, it came out in 1993. I'll give it that. Like, it wasn't too late. Yeah, I don't think there was too many fighters at the time on console. But even then, like for 1993, there are still better options for fighting games. But in terms of like a casual game, like if you're not even that into fighting games, you might get some enjoyment out of this, I think. But again, if you're used to playing like some of the newer fighting games today, like the one with all the flashy combos and all that, you might not like this game at all. Because again, it's very limited. Like it's safe. Like you can't do a lot. You can do just enough. Like, you know, 2-3 hit combos, like simple stuff like that. So don't expect any like 80 hit combos like, you know, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or something of the sort. It's a bit more, way more tame than that. But yeah, other than that, I'm not sure if I'm gonna go back to this game. After finding out about Cyborg's hidden move that wasn't in any of the manuals or even in, I couldn't even find it online, and the CPU never did it. I might go back to this game just to see if there's any other hidden moves to find out, like just use all the emotions. But other than that, I put a lot of time into this game, and I kinda like, usually with guides, like, you know, I really enjoy making them and I always have fun. But with this game, this took a very, very long time, and I'm a bit burned out from it. Like, at least from this game specifically. I'll probably go back to it in like a month maybe, like just to play it. But I do need a break from this game, and I really, really want to play something else. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you later, and for now, here are the Battle Fantasy endings in the Japanese dub.
X ダーク、この俺がいないのもいいことにひでえことしやがって。許せん。あいつを倒さん限りこの俺は。やったな、あんた。あの X ダークをよく倒したな。なあ、おい。あれ？いない。誰も。これでやっと俺も成仏できるってもんだ。世界もいずれ元に戻るだろう。さて、帰るか。
この世の中にはたくさん強いやつがおる。そこでじゃ、お前も旅に出てみるとよいじゃろう。心して行けよ。
はっ。師匠、ただいま帰りました。師匠。
これしきで甘いわい。足元を見るがよい。
これは。
またでござるか。善は急げだ。は。今度は宝探しじゃ。
これはバッジが、もしや。し
おお、さらか。X ダークの魔物たちが攻め込んできよった。わしと弟子たちが対戦したが防ぎきれんかった。お前も早く逃げろ。またいつ奴らが来るかわからん。わしは少し休ませてもらおう。
許さん。やったわ。これで師匠の仇は。誰？
わしじゃ。
師匠、エクスダクに殺されたはずでは。
いや、死んだふりをしていただけじゃ。よくやったな、サラ。お前に教えることはもう何もない。本当によくやった。
師匠。
とうとう現れやがったな。この時を何年待ったことか。今こそあの時の恨みを晴らさねば俺は一生このままだ。行くぞ。
呪いも解けたし、さて帰らなくっちゃ。
一体何があったんだ。すまん。俺が駆けつけた時にはもうお前の妹は連れ去られた後だった。許さん。とどめだ。
やめてお兄ちゃん。
コリー。
その人は私たちのお母さんなのよ。
何？
あいつめ、証拠りもなく現れおって。 前に私にやられたくらいでは仕置きが足りなかったようだが、また私が出向いていくことになるとは、今度は前のようにはいかんぞ。このバカ者があれほど二度と現れるなと言ったのに、老体に無茶をさせおって。さて、そろそろ帰るとするかの。おばあちゃん、どこ行ってたの？ん？ああ、ちょっとな。おばあちゃん、今日はどんなお話聞かせてくれるの？魔王と魔法使いの話でもしようかね。
これは。
申し訳ありません。何者かが神殿に侵入し、我が一族に伝わる魔法の指輪を奪っていったようです。
わしの仕掛けたトラップを全てかわしたというのか。
申し訳ありません。我々がもう少し。
いや、わしの仕掛けたトラップが破られたのだ。わしの責任だ。
アルゴス様。
わしはこれからすぐに旅立つ。後のことは頼む。
はっはっ。
あれは。
誰？私の大切な子供をさらったのは。
それならさっき魔族の連中が卵を抱えていったが、それかもしれないな。
魔族？待ってなさい、今助けに行くわ。あ、あれは私の卵。
弱すぎる。誰でもいい。もっと手応えのあるやつはいないのか。もっと強いやつはいないのか。